Jules White. I wanted to make this first video in this series for 2021 because I've done a lot of thinking over Christmas time. I actually stopped work, which is amazing for me. And I had a rest. I took some downtime and I really did relax. Actually, I was tired. I think everyone was tired after 2020. And I just wanted to really think about what was ahead of me for 2021. But equally, I kind of thought that it would be a year where I could again grow. You know, I think we always have to be growing. So I relaxed, I watched some Netflix and chilled out with my son, my fabulous Sam. He's now 16. He was 16 on New Year's Day. So that was really, really fun. We had a lockdown birthday for him. And his music career is really the big focus now. He's just doing amazing things. He's making some great music and he's just learning now. So it's very exciting to watch his journey. It's equally as exciting to think about things that I'm going to learn. So 2021, and we're coming up to the last week of January, you know, which is really mad how fast that's gone. And I really wanted to share what's happened for me over the last 3 weeks, these first few weeks of 2021. So the first thing to tell you is that I joined Clubhouse. Yes, Clubhouse. Now, you're either getting totally fed up of hearing about it or you are on there and you are enjoying it probably just as much as I am. I actually wrote a blog about this, so I'll put a link in the comments and you can have a little read of my musings around Clubhouse, because I've got some thoughts really, but ultimately for me, Clubhouse is this kind of people watching in audio. It's fantastic. And if you go in there and you really, really listen and you really immerse yourself in it, you do really find out a lot about people. I think the thing about Clubhouse is that there's a huge FOMO about it. You know, people who aren't yet on there, who perhaps haven't got Apple phones, they're feeling very left out right now. But, you know, this will be rolled out to Android, so have no fear. But I think what was really clever was how they've marketed the whole thing, really. They've created that desire. So that's been really quite good. Actually, what's important is that when you finally get in there, it kind of exceeds your expectations. And I think that will be the decision maker for some people as to whether it's a real letdown or whether they actually immerse themselves in it and learn. So I want to share what I've learned in my experience in Clubhouse. So I've been in all sorts of rooms, from local business networking to the huge rooms run by Gary Vee with 2.1 thousand people in there today, I think there was. I've also been on stage in these smaller rooms and I've spoken, and I have run my own rooms as well now. I think I'm on my 4th room that I've run. So it's really interesting. And if you don't know much about Clubhouse, you will probably read and find out everything about how it functions. But there's kind of 3 things you can be in Clubhouse. One is in the audience, where you literally just sit and listen. One is on the stage, where you've been invited up and you've got something to add to the conversation or maybe a question to ask. And of course, the other one is a moderator, or you're actually running the room as a moderator. And that is where you're controlling the whole room. It's down to you. You pick your subject and people have come to listen to you. So that dynamic is very interesting. The second thing that I think was really apparent for me was that there was a huge amount of ego on Clubhouse. Lots of people scrabbling really quickly to be the ones that were on stage. And yes, I have been on stage. You know, you would argue you have to have a tiny bit of ego to be able to get on stage. But ego as in, look at me, look how good I am, I'm the expert. There's definitely some minglings of that going on Clubhouse. So I didn't particularly like the energy in some of those rooms, if I'm really honest. But here's the thing. I ventured, really probably because of Sam and his music, I ventured into the Songwriters Academy. I ventured into rooms where there were music producers and singers and amazing people who had written music for huge names who all of you would know, who had produced music for people like Michael Jackson, Sia, Taylor Swift, all of these big names that you would know and recognize. These guys are probably multimillionaires. These guys are super successful. And yet those rooms were the absolute best rooms, the best rooms ever. Those rooms were empathetic. Those rooms were full of really amazing energy. Those rooms were inclusive. Those rooms were so giving, so giving. I have to pause because it's really hard to find the words to describe how good those rooms were. So not only was the subject matter fascinating, talking about things like AI in music, talking about things like rejection in music. Yes, they were all music subjects, but I sat in those rooms. Yes, I play saxophone and clarinet, and I have a go at playing music, and I adore music. I am not a musician. I am not a record producer, or even I can't write songs. My son can. I got so much value from those rooms because everything they said was everything I talk about in sales. Everything was so, so good. All about human connection, all about being unique, all about that UHP that I keep talking about, your unique human proposition. Oh my goodness, it was so exciting. And the energy was so amazing in those rooms. And it got me really thinking, how did I feel in the rooms that were full of business people, just business people who were giving out their business advice, some of it good, some of it really not so good. And that's my opinion because it is a subjective thing. And yet this room where even when they said things that I knew, even when they said things that I say too, it felt so good. A totally different energy in those rooms. Now, here's what happens, I think, for us as business people, as human beings. We connect with people who are like us. We connect with people who share our values. And so bring this back to sales. Bring this back to everything I talk about when I say life skills are sales skills, because that's the magic of selling, that actually you don't sell. You're just you. You're uniquely you, and you're memorable, and people will remember you because of how you made them feel. This is sales. I do not want to ever be talking about funnels, and I don't ever want to be talking about revenue, and I don't ever want to be talking about the fact that we need to go to the buyer and tell them what they need. That's not my idea of sales. And I want to bring a refreshing angle to you about sales. And if you go into those rooms with any of these musicians, they are the finest salespeople because they don't even realize that they are selling, because they're doing it right, because they're doing it in the right way. So exciting. So my experience in Clubhouse has just really renewed my energy around the message that I have, which is life skills are sales skills. This was always my message from the start, my realization after selling for 32 years, that ultimately every one of us has the skill set to be able to sell. And yes, of course, there's loads more to say about it. And yes, of course, I could be challenged in all ways possible on this theory and this methodology that I have. But if you go into any of those rooms with those guys, with those musical, talented, wonderful guys, you'll see it all in action. You'll see everything I talk about in action. And it's just natural. It's just happening. It's not even being forced in any way. I just adored being in those rooms with them. And so what I really want to do is I want to start talking about sales in this way. And I want to then dissect down into various subject matters, but with the live it, love it, sell it methodology attached to it. So this life skills or sales skills methodology, which isn't really a methodology, let's face it, it's just us being us. Isn't that wonderful? There's 7 billion types of normal on the planet. That was the Bupa campaign. And you'll hear me say that again and again. That's magic. Now, the other thing that happened, which for me was almost this icing on the cake, because I think what I was learning, if I'm really honest, is that I was just staying in this kind of business tribe, this tribe of people running their own businesses. And that's not to say that I'm not staying in that place. I want to be helping people who are running businesses. But they could be running any type of business, really, to be able to learn about the way I talk about sales. This is the whole thing around niche. Some people want to stay in a lane of only serving health professionals or only serving pharmaceuticals, for instance, which is great, and that's fine. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is stay on my lane of, this is what sales is. This life skills are sales skills. This is what sales is all about. That's the lane. And that's the lane I'm not going to come out of, because that's what I truly believe. So the icing on the cake was, and it's sad actually, because this week we found out that Larry King had actually passed away. And I think he was in his late 80s actually. But if any of you remember Larry King, he had a wonderful chat show. He was a wonderful host and interviewer of very, very famous people. And on the news, when they announced that he passed away, they showed a clip. And I want to just play you that clip in this video. Listen to what he says. It's amazing.
I learned that the more I drew back, asked good questions, listened to the answers, cared about the guest, the biggest compliment you could get, as Sinatra once said, you make the camera disappear.
Isn't that wonderful? The biggest compliment that he got was from Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, who said, you made the camera disappear. What a lesson for all of us when we're selling. These are the life skills. Ask great questions and listen and care about your guest. Care about your customer. Stop selling to your customers and start loving them. And have human conversations and ask great questions. Don't just ask questions you think you need to ask. Be curious. Find out what makes that person really, really tick, and step into their world, because that's what Larry King did. And then when a guest as famous as Sinatra says, you made the camera disappear, well, you could just be that salesperson who has made your customer feel like the sale has disappeared. The pressure of buying has disappeared. We need to go deeper now into what sales is really about. We need to stop just saying the same old things and really examine how we connect as human beings and what it really means for somebody to actually buy from you and why they will buy from you for the right reasons. I've loved making this because for me, this is the start of lots of things that I want to dissect and say in this series of videos. But I want you to get value from it. And I want you to watch these and think, gosh, I actually can sell. I have all of the skills that I need to be able to sell. How amazing is that? Thanks for listening. If you liked and enjoyed this video and you're very excited about the other videos that I'm going to be making all about life skills are sales skills, then please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Make sure you like and comment if you want to. I would love that. Interact. Let's have a conversation. And please press the bell, because then every time a new video is released in this series, you will get to hear about it. And this will absolutely help you to realize what sales is really about. Thanks for listening, and I will see you again soon. Ta-ta for now.